always have something to do in our off time if we want to. A very favorite pastime, though, is, of course, going and looking out the windows, trying to take pictures of your hometown and places you've been before. And
Welcome into One-on-One OSU Student Radio, KXUY, Sunlink Channel 112. We are live from Studio 318 on the beautiful campus of Oklahoma State University. I'm joined by my co-host Logan Mosher. I am Reed Spencer. And it was not a fun weekend in Stillwater, Logan.
No, it was not, especially, it just wasn't. It just wasn't a good weekend for a lot of people.
Well, we are going to spend the next 14 minutes dissecting what went wrong here in Stillwater. And it's a shame we only have 14 minutes. Wednesday, we're going to spend all hour talking about it with OSU insider Robert Allen. But Cowboys fall to Texas Tech 41-17. The first time they lost to Texas Tech in Stillwater in 17 years. First time they had lost to Texas Tech in 9 years. And now the news is breaking today about Jalen McCluskey.
Yep.
But we'll get into that on Wednesday because I don't know enough about that. And that is an interesting situation. So we're going to push that to Wednesday.
Okay.
But he is transferring. We do know that for a fact. But let's start with, where do you want to start from Saturday? Let's start with the uniforms, actually.
Okay.
That's what you get for wearing all gray. I did not like the all gray unis.
You know, I was excited whenever they first announced they were going to wear the all gray, but maybe you're right. You know, there's always those like myths going on, you know, with teams and jerseys, and maybe all gray is just not good for us.
They wore all gray on the road at Iowa State in 2011. Gray pants, at least. So I've never been a fan of the gray, but I don't think they'll be wearing all gray at home anytime soon. Oh, man, the special teams was bad. Zach Seiner punted well for coming back from that injury.
Yeah.
The special teams was bad. Amendola missed a field goal. Tylan Wallace fumbled a punt return. The defense couldn't get off the field, and as soon as they got off the field, they were going right back out because Taylor Cornelius can't convert on third down. It was just bad all around.
Yeah, it was not good. You're seeing our offense right there. It was not. Third down efficiency, 3 for 13. You're not going to win a lot of ball games like that. 1 interception, 1 fumble on the turnovers right there. Only 128 rushing yards. When you have Justice Hill. Justice Hill only got 12 carries for 111 yards. And if you take out a 37-yard run, that's not an impressive stat line. How can you only hand the ball off to a guy like Justice Hill 12 times?
Well, the offensive line couldn't. The offensive line was bad. Taylor Cornelius was not great. Justice Hill had an all right game, 12 carries, 111 yards for a touchdown. For as bad as the offensive line was, the receivers were dropping passes. It was bad from the start. The first quarter was competitive, and after that, Texas Tech, they got everything they wanted offensively. They controlled the tempo defensively, and their special teams wasn't bad. Ours was horrific. Our defense was bad, and our offense was worse. So now, when you go in, we'll break down Texas Tech in a second, but let's go kind of jump ahead to where Gundy's at right now going into Kansas. What do you tell the team? Because, I mean, nothing was impressive. I can't find a positive. I spent the last 2 days trying to find a positive, and I know Robert Allen will be able to find a positive on Wednesday, but is there a positive in Stillwater?
If you're looking at that game, I don't think there's a positive you can get from that outcome, but I do think there's a positive that Gundy could spin in practice. He could obviously show the film, show how bad they were, and use that as a way to improve. I'm hoping. We've been in this situation before where we get upset at home. Last year it was against
Which time?
TCU.
The first time, the second time, or the third time?
The first time.
Oh.
The first time. Against TCU last year. I think you got to use this as a way to obviously humble everyone. We were ranked 15th. Coming into the season, no one thought we were good. We take down Boise State. I think everyone got a little too excited, and everyone's back down to earth now. It was a big change from week to week, but I don't see a positive as far as things that went good. But there's a lot of stuff you can improve on, obviously.
Yeah, there's plenty to improve on. I think you're right. You just kind of have to say, well, you got your butts kicked.
Yep.
You were embarrassed. You dropped your Big 12 opener at home for the second year in a row.
Yep.
You lose to a bunch of guys who you hadn't lost to in nearly a decade, and they haven't beat us here at home since 2001. You lost to those guys. You lost to a coach that was on the verge of getting fired last year. That's who you lose to. As you see, Alan Bowman was really impressive on the day. 621 yards of total offense, 397 passing yards, 224 on the ground. Their third down efficiency was a big part of it. And he threw two interceptions, and Oklahoma State couldn't convert on his turnovers. And to his credit, when he did throw a turnover or made a mistake, he bounced back like that. He was an impressive freshman, and Texas Tech has got to be very happy that he's as young as he is and as talented as he is.
Yeah, Texas Tech, we're kind of like wide receiver U. We had James Washington, and we've got all these receivers now. Texas Tech kind of seems to be like quarterback U. You know what I mean?
Baker Mayfield. They were right on point with that one.
Yeah, they let Baker Mayfield walk. They got Patrick Mahomes, who's obviously tearing up the NFL right now. And then you've got Bowman, who seems to be the real deal for a freshman quarterback. I did actually think I found one positive, maybe, for the defense. They had 2 sacks on Saturday. Texas Tech had only given up 1 sack in 3 games. So I don't know how big of a positive that really is, but that's a stat.
They didn't come till later in the game, though.
Yeah.
When the game was kind of
out of control.
It was over with. So it was an unfortunate part. And Calvin Bundage is maybe a little banged up.
Yep.
Man, I think maybe the only positive is you're playing Kansas. But you got to get it right
this year.
week.
Maybe not so much. They kind of started off a little hot.
They didn't do so well down in Waco.
No.
But if they had any confidence at all, it's still there because, hey, they won 2 games. That's more than they've won in the last decade probably up in Lawrence, or games that mattered anyways with a Power 5 win over Rutgers. But it's an 11 o'clock kickoff. Get it right, because if you get down to Kansas at 11:30 in the morning, you're going to start your world's going to come crashing down. So it has to get fixed now.
I agree. And Reed, I want to talk about Texas Tech a little bit more. They ran the ball for 224 yards. And we said on Friday and on Wednesday with Robert, Texas Tech is not a rushing team. What happened with the defense? You were watching the game from Triple Play. You were commenting on it live. Tell me what you saw as far as the defense giving up that many rushing yards.
Well, early on in the game, Texas Tech had, I wouldn't call them trick plays, but the plays that they had, Oklahoma State's defense was clueless. And so they were running all over the place. They weren't set half the time. They got gashed. They didn't know it didn't look like they had a game plan. Seriously, welcome to the Big 12 Jim Knowles. I still think, obviously, Jim Knowles is an incredible defensive coordinator, and I think they're going to be better. But they got exposed. They're running around against Boise State, dominating, creating turnovers, sacking Brett Rippon. But now, A.J. Green gave up. I mean, he had that interception, but the secondary wasn't great. The defensive line wasn't great. The linebackers were all over the place, but they were never in the right position. So what went wrong? Everything. Giving up the rush yards that they did doesn't matter because they couldn't stop the pass either.
Yeah.
Alan Bowman simply did what he wanted. Cliff Kingsbury, all credit to him. I mean, awesome for him that he still has a job because for a lot of Tech fans, he probably shouldn't after, he's been there 5 or 6 years and they haven't had a good season yet. But his first win against Oklahoma State with a freshman quarterback that was 35-46, 397 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the 2 interceptions, and Antoine Wesley, 7 receptions, 98 yards. They were just
doing whatever.
It was just, as you said, I was commenting on the game, and that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do because you can only comment on the negatives so much before you start just kind of sounding like a jerk almost.
Yeah.
And I was pushed to the brink. Like, I didn't know what else to say. I really don't know what else to say now. I don't know what else to say because of the news in Stillwater today that I said we'll talk about Wednesday. It's an awkward feeling to lose the way that they did because it's not like they got beat by a field goal.
No.
They didn't score from the second quarter on. They only put 17 points on Texas Tech.
And a half. That's it.
Who had 49 put on them last week by Houston.
Yeah.
Houston. Ole Miss put points on them. And Oklahoma State can't put more than 17 at home with Justice Hill. You can't put more than 17 points on Texas Tech, and you don't even score in the second half of the game. If you tell me or any Oklahoma State fan, they tell you, anyone on this crew, you know what, Texas Tech put up 41 points. Most Oklahoma State fans go, okay, so we won the game.
Right. That's about how it was last year, but
no,
not this time.
No, you get beat by 24 points. That's embarrassing at home in your Big 12 opener at a pivotal point in the season where you had so much momentum and you can't lose it now. Now, they have lost games early in the season the past couple years and still went on to win 10 games. The 2 out of the last 3 times they've lost their Big 12 opener, they've played for the Big 12 title, which they didn't ever win, but they have played for the Big 12 title. There is still potential here. It's not like it's fire Mike Gundy because you lose to Texas Tech one time. I wouldn't go that extreme. I would maybe look at making some changes.
I was going to ask you about that. If you're Mike Gundy, do you consider Drew Brown at all, or do you roll with Cornelius like he said he would?
Well, Cornelius, as we said, was 18-38, 258 yards with the 1 touchdown and the 1 interception. But it doesn't matter who you stick out there until you fix that offensive line.
Yeah.
Because if you don't fix that, what's the point in making a quarterback change?
Right, and we kind of talked about that. They played really well against Boise State. We really weren't expecting that, but like you said, against Texas Tech, they were awful, and I don't really know what you do to fix that. Like, you can't coach these guys up to an elite offensive line level over the course of the season, and we just don't. I don't think we have the guys to have a good offensive line this season. So is that ultimately going to be the main hindrance for the Cowboys this season?
Well, 4 games in, it hasn't exponentially gotten better. So that might be their Achilles heel on offense. And if you're looking at a season where it might be Justice Hill's last season, it's Cornelius' last season, no matter how it goes. He's a senior. Justice Hill's looking at leaving. You have a young guy with Tylan Wallace. You have talented receivers, but it doesn't matter when your running back can't get anywhere and your quarterback's on his back and running for his life half the time. It just doesn't matter. So they have to clean up the offensive line, but that's been a problem in Oklahoma State for a long time. So if you look at history, I don't know that it gets fixed.
Yeah.
I don't know that it can get fixed. But if they want to win 10 games, something has to improve.
Right. So if you're Mike Gundy, is the game, he said, I think again, or after the Boise State game, he said, you got to run the ball in situations where they tell you can't run the ball, and we've got to be able to do that. Do you think they're going to try and do that? Because we have not seen Justice Hill carry the ball more than 15 times. When are we going to see that game where Justice Hill gets 20 carries or more and we just let him loose? Is that going to be against Kansas?
Yeah, I mean, you would hope that Oklahoma State could go get what they want in Lawrence.
Yeah.
Because if they can't,
we're in trouble.
The amount of problems that we think we have now, which is high, quadruples. It is, so many problems. I don't even. If you lose to Kansas and Lawrence because that offense can't score points, boy, you got some serious issues on your hand. We'll wait for that to happen before we go down that road, which I don't think it will. You have to watch out, though, with the 11 o'clock kickoff with a Kansas team that can at least show they can win some games. You have to watch out. But I don't know when Justice Hill gets loose. I don't know when the Justice League all is in full force. I don't know when it happens. But I was telling Chris this while we were doing the game live. It scares me when you get in a shootout now because, the last 6 or so years, even the entire time Mike Gundy's been here, if you get in a shootout, Oklahoma State can score right back.
Yeah.
They can do that.
Not last week.
You got in you could have gotten a shootout, I guess. Texas Tech was scoring at will, and you couldn't compete. You couldn't keep up. So things are different now. They just don't have it on offense this year, which is crazy, absolutely crazy to think about. But I don't want to say you should bench Taylor Cornelius. I don't know that that's fair because of the offensive line play. But I know there's a lot of people out there that are looking for a change, but it's not going to. Gundy said it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and it kind of seemed like he had closed that door last week, but it's open right back. Drew Brown has not gone away.
Who would you? Obviously, Drew Brown's number 2, but with knowing what you know, is there any way that you would start anyone besides Drew Brown? Would you consider Spencer Sanders?
No, I don't think so. I think the smart thing to do is to let Spencer learn as much as he can in practice, because we're just not going to compete this year anyway. So I think if it's not Cornelius, it's Drew Brown.
So what do you think about the receiving corps Saturday?
I thought, for as hurried as Cornelius was, I thought they did as good as they could. Tylan Wall, 7 receptions for 123 yards. We only had 1 touchdown through the air, which is obviously a problem, but I thought they did as best they could. And
before we get to commercial really quickly, what about the special teams?
The special teams was definitely not what it was last week. I wish it was. That might have helped us out a little bit, but like you said, Zach Steiner's returning from an injury, so the punting was as good as it could be. Muff punts have got to stop here in Stillwater. We got to hire a special teams coordinator or something like that.
All right, well, we do have to get out of here. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back to talk about college football, or the NFL and college football as a whole, but we want to thank one of our sponsors, Oklahoma Air National Guard. Contact Oklahoma Air National Guard at 800-GO-TO-ANG or visit their website at goang.com/Oklahoma for more information about 100% college tuition. We'll be right back on One-on-One, Ocean Student Radio, KQI, Suddenly Channel 110.
Determining your future by selecting a major can be difficult.
It's okay to be undecided.
Connect with the College of Arts and Sciences, where your options are endless.
Where you can uncover your passions and achieve your goals.
Express your creativity by exploring a career in the visual and performing arts.
Investigate new discoveries to make the world a better place with a career in science.
Advance knowledge, communicate progress, and contribute to a healthier planet with a career rooted in the social sciences.
Discover your career by looking at the world from different perspectives through the humanities.
Realize a better tomorrow through problem solving and mining data that can change lives.
CAS prepares you to succeed through internships, study abroad, student-guided research projects, and service activities.
With 109 majors, 52 minors, and 24 departments, the only thing missing is you. College of Arts and Sciences.
Connect.
Achieve. Succeed.
When you have a team of physicians and nurses that really truly care about their patients, that translates into patient care.
It's a small practice, it's a small town. Everybody really takes that time to put the patient first.
Everybody cares what's happening to me and that I'm making progress and I'm gaining my freedom back and my mobility back. This patient is saying thank you.
This spring, I invite you to shop in downtown Stillwater. Downtown Stillwater is home to locally owned shops, boutiques, eateries, and dependable professionals that you can trust. Find the perfect gift for your graduate, have a delicious meal with mom, or just stop in to enjoy great spring savings. By creating a demand for local goods and services, you can ensure a place for the local businesses that help give our community character and keep it unique. On behalf of Downtown Stillwater, thank you for shopping local.
here on the beautiful campus of Oklahoma State University. As you saw there, Logan, the NFL has a lot of explaining to do with their penalties. But I want to change of course. We had to do our our rundown and stuff. We got the show done a couple days ago, but something else happened.
Yeah,
we'll get back to Clay Matthews.
Something happened yesterday.
Slow clap. Tiger is a champion once again. His 80th PGA Tour win. The first time since 2013 Tiger Woods won. I love it.
Golf needed this.
Tiger. Tiger. We love it. Tiger Woods. I almost cried. That final putt, going in. So good. So good.
Dude, watching that video of him walking to the 18 green and everyone is just behind him, that was the best golf moment I've ever seen in my life. And I mean, we didn't, like we talked about before, we've never really gotten to see Tiger Woods as he was when he was, but like he's back. He's winning tournaments again.
Winning by 2 shots.
Yeah.
Tiger red, wearing the Tiger red on Sunday, walking down the fairway at 18, knowing that he had it locked up.
Yep.
And for me, seeing Rory McIlroy have to deal with all those people being there for Tiger, that was great to watch. The game of golf. That is when people ask, "Well, why do they need Tiger so much?" Look at that.
Yeah.
That's why they need Tiger. There is not another golfer that is going to get that praise in that crowd.
No.
It's just not possible.
Let me ask you this. Is Tiger Woods, is this comeback?
He's winning all 4 majors next year.
Oh. Is this the greatest comeback in sports? Tiger Woods' journey back to winning a tournament?
Probably the biggest personal comeback. Probably not in all of sports because you look at some of the great team comebacks. But from what he came back from physically and mentally and just where he was just a short year ago, and it's not like he just up and won a tournament. He's been competitive all year long and finally put it together all 4 rounds. So it's probably one of the biggest. But, yeah, I mean, he's not going to ever lose again. I mean, all 4 majors next year.
Enthusiasm.
He's breaking.
He's going to break the all-time wins record?
He's going to break Jack's major record. He's going to break the all-time PGA wins record. I mean, Tiger's back. Hey, who thought Tiger would be back before Texas? I mean, hey, he beat the Longhorns to the punch. Tiger is back, but they're going into the Ryder Cup. We'll see how well he performs in Paris. That was a huge win for not only Tiger but the game of golf.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I could do a slow Tiger chant the rest of the show. Good stuff. Now let's go back to Clay Matthews.
Okay. That was a good sack by Clay Matthews. I just want to add that. That was not roughing the passer.
Well, by rule, it was roughing the passer.
It's a terrible rule. We talked about this. It's the worst rule. It's just awful. Clay Matthews for 3 weeks in a row has gotten some good sacks, and they've been throwing penalty flags, and it's ridiculous.
Well, he needs to learn how to tackle in 2018.
I know.
Logan.
There's a video I saw on Instagram. It was how to tackle. You got to pick them up, lay them down gently, give them a little pillow for their head, and that's the only way you can make a clean tackle in the NFL now.
Well, is there any other guys who have had this penalty thrown on them 3 weeks in a row, or is it just Clay Matthews?
I think it's just Clay Matthews.
Yeah, so figure it out, Clay Matthews. I'm sorry, that's the way you've tackled your entire game, but your entire life playing football, rather. But you have to figure it out.
A guy got hurt because he was trying not to get a flag thrown.
I don't buy that. We both saw the play, and I think they're just kind of pushing the narrative.
I think whenever you're thinking about stuff like that, instead of just doing what you normally do, that can make you make mistakes like that. And I'm not saying it totally led to the injury, but I think overthinking stuff leads to stuff like that sometimes. It
was a torn ACL. Things like that happen. You look at Jimmy Garoppolo in Kansas City. Things happen. It's football. Don't tell me, well, because of that play is why he tore his ACL. No, he was playing the game of football is why he tore his ACL. People tear their ACLs all the time, so don't try and push that narrative. I don't like the rule either, don't get me wrong, but I don't quite buy that story.
I'm just saying, if guys start overthinking stuff too much, they're going to make mistakes in other places, and
that's fair.
It's going to lead to some injuries.
That's fair to say, but the NFL's got to fix that rule, and Clay Matthews has to learn how to tackle, and that is not an easy task.
Yeah.
When you're supposed to take your body weight off of somebody, it's nearly impossible.
That's what I was thinking. It's so hard when you're going at someone full speed to get them on the ground, because that's the point of tackling, and you got to take your body weight off of them like at a split second. That's hard to do. And he even tries to roll off as soon as possible. Yeah. They still throw the flag.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate, and he's getting fined a
Yeah,
lot, but
yeah.
he gets paid a lot. But the NFL has to figure that out because they are ruining the game of football. Let's talk about our game picks
We
from
did not
that
do a
we
good
did on
job.
Friday. Now, let's go on the record. I always pick against Kansas City, and until I pick another team and they lose, I'm not going to pick them. Why would I? Come on.
They've got the best offense in the NFL, Reed.
Yeah, they do, but superstitious, I'm not doing it. I got New Orleans right.
Barely.
So
That was
I'm
close.
1-0. I'll take the 1-1 loss. Now you're 1-1. We're going to 1-2 because good Lord, Josh Allen hurdled the Vikings, and the Vikings should not have paid Kirk Cousins $84 million. We got Denver wrong. We're 1-3. We moved to 2-3 with the Rams, and then 2-4. Whew.
I'm glad we didn't bet on any of that.
Well, we would be broke.
That would be a lot of lost money.
All right, you want to hear a quick joke?
I do.
Minnesota sports.
God.
That's the punchline.
Chris is somewhere in this building. He's gonna find you.
Hey,
You're in trouble.
it's not my fault.
That's wrong.
The biggest upset in the NFL since 1996 when the Redskins upset the Cowboys. Oh my gosh, Josh Allen couldn't hit the broadside of a barn and throw it to the right. When he did throw it to somebody, it went to the wrong team, and now he's Superman all of a
That's a
sudden.
good pylon cam. I like that.
Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings should be the laughingstock of the National Football League. Buffalo was so bad last week. Somebody
Someone
quit
retired.
at halftime. At halftime.
What if he had come back
He might want to now.
at the halftime of this game? What would you do if he shows up?
I'd welcome him back. I mean, it's
Look
a
at
party
this.
now. that the that vaunted Minnesota Vikings defense. Yeah, they're real scary. They let Josh Allen beat them. Are you kidding me? The Minnesota Vikings.
Who do the Vikings play next week? Let me look.
Doesn't matter because you know what I'm changing my fantasy narrative to.
Whoever plays the
Start
Vikings.
everyone who's playing the Vikings.
That's wrong. That's so wrong. They play the Rams. The Rams are in trouble. No one, like you said it a couple weeks ago, no one gets beat this bad and embarrassed and shows up
Oh,
the
so you
second
think
week.
the Rams are in trouble?
I do. I don't.
Well, here's
I'm
the
just
thing.
saying.
Here's the thing, Logan. They got beat bad by the Buffalo Bills. I don't think that you come back from that. They're going 1-14-1.
That's so wrong.
What's wrong is getting beat that bad by Buffalo. That shows that they didn't have any respect for Buffalo.
They
Now,
almost
let's
got
be
shut
honest.
out.
I didn't either. I don't think anyone did.
No.
Somebody quit at halftime. They were that bad. They were awful. But to come out and beat one of the better teams in the NFL like
Yeah.
that was impressive. So kudos to Buffalo. You probably won't make the playoffs, but that's impressive. Now let's go to our top performers
Okay.
of the week. Who was your number one quarterback this week?
Drew Brees, man. Did you see that Atlanta-New Orleans game?
I did the spin move.
The spin move.
The B button.
Drew Brees is like 70, and he made two guys miss with the spin move. That's impressive.
He's 68, but okay.
My bad. He is the youngest AARP member to ever hit a spin move in the NFL. Adrian Peterson turned back the clock. Another mistake for Minnesota. They had a bad weekend. Oh, Calvin Ridley. Who would have thought?
The Minnesota mistakes.
Oh, Chris is going to kill you. Calvin Ridley. Who would have thought that Julio Jones was the third best receiver for the Falcons this weekend? Probably Levi. Dallas. I don't even want to try and say that. Do you know how to say that?
Goddard?
Godert? Or, yeah.
Joe
Goddard? Goddard.
No, it's Goddard. Joe. Should make a movie about him, Goddard.
And then Will Lutz, obviously, when New Orleans puts up that many points, he's going to give you a lot of fantasy points. Who were your top performers?
Well,
from fantasy?
I'm going to go like with Patrick Mahomes just
Okay.
for I'm not necessarily going off
can't-
fantasy points
Okay.
right now because of I saw it in person yesterday.
Yeah.
And I turned around teary-eyed to somebody in Arrowhead yesterday and said, "That's my quarterback, T.O. style." When he scrambled and threw it to Conley, hit him in the corner. That's my quarterback.
My quarterback.
Yeah, I had to wipe my tears away, but the second half was not great for Kansas City, but they ended up winning.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, 24-38, 314 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jordy Nelson, 6 receptions, 173 yards. Who thought that Oakland's
Right.
0-3, but we talked about finding
It's hard to find a pass rusher,
Yeah.
Reed.
it is hard to find a pass rusher, especially when you trade the best one in the National Football League away. But we talked about finding positives with Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
A positive for Oakland is Jordy Nelson had a good day. You talked about Calvin Ridley and Adrian Pearson. And Matt Stafford, 27 to 36, 262 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now let's go to the negatives for the teams in the league. Jimmy Garoppolo tore his ACL yesterday.
Yes, that sucks. That's
he's out.
awful to see.
Yeah, he's
He
done.
was supposed to be the next great guy. Obviously, he was going to be the successor to Tom Brady. Got traded away. And now it doesn't even seem like he's the next best guy. That has obviously been taken over by Patty Mahomes.
Yeah. I love it. All right, Marcus Peters, they're doing the MRI on the calf, maybe the heel. Don't know how long he's out. Akeem Talib also hurt his leg. He's getting tests done, so that could be a big shakeup in Los Angeles. William Hayes tore his ACL. Ricardo Allen tore his Achilles. Richard Sherman's going to be out a couple weeks with his calf injury. He hasn't really been healthy. And as you talked about with, the ACL for William Hayes on that, he wouldn't have heard it had the rule not existed. And Muhammad Wilkerson, I believe, it has a significant injury as well. So there's a lot of...
That's a tough week for a lot of guys.
Yeah. I mean, he may be out the rest of the year with that ankle injury. So we have to get out of here. We're getting the wrap-up signal, but I'm going to ask you a few rapid-fire questions. Because we dictate things around here, Logan. We go as long as we want. Is the Patriots dynasty over? Be careful how you answer here. Okay,
They've started out slow before.
Thank you. People do not understand that September is Bill Belichick's worst month. They'll probably go to the Super Bowl. I mean, but if you've learned anything, I don't know what I'm talking about. Because the Bills are winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Tiger's back. It was a crazy weekend in sports. Will the Steelers trade Le'Veon Bell?
Yes.
Ooh, that's an interesting.
Soon.
Will Fitzmagic tonight, will he light it up against the Steelers?
No, I hope not, because I'm playing against him in fantasy.
How good is Patrick Mahomes?
Too good. He
Hall of Fame good?
Maybe. I think so. He hasn't thrown an interception, Reed.
Just give him the gold jacket now. How many times will Clay Matthews get flagged this season?
16.
No.
There's 16 weeks.
All right, we have to get out of here and take another quick break, but we do want to thank another one of our sponsors at OSU Communications. Not sure where to park? OSU Communications has got you covered. With parking tips and bus schedule for more information. We'll be right back on One-on-One. Thank you to our sponsors, as always. We are live on OSU Student Radio KXUI, Link Channel 112. We will be right back.
In my mind, I was never going to walk right again. Before we were through, we had walked 23 steps. And that was my first steps of freedom. This patient is saying thank you.
Welcome back to One on One on Ocean Student Radio KXUI Sunlink Channel 112. Logan, I figured out the positive from this weekend in Stillwater. We didn't forget to send Amendola out there.
That is a positive. And, you know, he may have missed a field goal, but not like that. Amendola was out there when he was supposed to be out there.
Yeah, so that's my positive.
That's a good
found
positive.
One. I did. So let's kick it around the Big 12. Not a great weekend for the conference as a whole.
It was not.
I'm going to read you some storylines, and you tell me where you want to start. OSU almost lost to Army. Or not OSU, OU, excuse me.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happens. Texas was upset by TCU. West Virginia looks like the favorite in the Big 12 now. And KU had their winning streak snapped. Where do you want to start?
I want to start at OU Army because I was watching that. We were watching that stream, and that was so weird. Like, I can't remember who said it, but someone had mentioned to me, watch out, Army could hang in there with Oklahoma. Was it you?
That was
it was
me,
you.
by the way.
Good job. But anyway, you want to talk about that? You're obviously the expert on that game. Tell me what you were thinking.
I didn't think it would be that close. I thought maybe the first half things would be a little iffy.
Yeah.
But I thought the run game of Army, they passed like 7 times Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
They just controlled, and if they could get that against the, Mike Stoops' defense, they could keep OU off the field.
Yeah.
OU scored really fast. It looked like it was going to be a blowout. But Army controlled the tempo, stopped OU at 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 from the 1.
Yep.
Took it into overtime. Obviously, we know OU that pulled it out. I didn't think it would be anything like that. Now, I don't want to go as far as say, well, clearly OU's not good.
Right.
No, OU will be just fine and they'll bounce back. OU always has a game like that.
Mm-hmm.
Always. And they always find a way to win the Big 12 and be there in the national discussion at the end of the year. So I'm not worried a bit about OU, but you certainly don't want to go into overtime with a team like Army.
Same. I'm not worried about OU at all. They're going to bounce back and beat OU like always, as much as you and I might hate that. But it was strange watching this. You mentioned it. They controlled the tempo the whole time, Army did. And I'm not sure if Army doesn't, get a stop in overtime, that they couldn't go down, because they had no trouble, it seemed, moving down the field and at least getting into field goal range in overtime. So OU is very lucky to get out of that game with a win in overtime. Kyler Murray, 11 for 15, 165 yards, 3 touchdowns. Is Kyler Murray good enough to carry the Sooners all the way to the national playoff?
He made some mistakes and some bad reads Saturday, but they're going to be just fine with Kyler Murray. I'm not worried at all. Now let's go to West Virginia. West Virginia, 35-6 over K-State. Will Greer, 25-35, 56 yards and 5 touchdowns. Did throw 2 interceptions. Are they now the favorite in the Big 12?
No, I still consider OU the favorite, but they're right there. They're waiting to take OU's spot. They're for real. As much as I hate to say this, they are for real this year. In the past, I've always kind of waved them off because they can never win the big game. They still haven't proven that, but I think the way everyone else played last weekend, they're certainly poised to take a big leap.
I don't think they're the favorite. They're going to have to beat OU and show me first before I believe, because they have kind of choked so much in recent history. They've had all the awards already given to them, and then they choke.
Yeah.
So I think they are better than they have been in a long time. But until they show me that they can beat OU, I'm not buying into them being the best team in the Big 12.
They play OU at the end of the season. That's the end of their season. I think it's in Norman. So
that'll be
an interesting game. Yep.
All right, Texas.
TCU and Texas.
Texas is back.
I know.
They're going to win the Big 12. I told you, Logan. I mean, everyone was ready to, say, well, Reed, you said this. They lost to Maryland. I knew that was going to happen. I'm not afraid to say it. Texas is back.
Okay.
I knew that was going to happen, okay? I knew it was going to happen. They beat TCU 36-16, in all honesty. I did not see this game coming.
No.
I didn't think that I thought TCU would bounce back after getting beat by Ohio State, would go down to Texas and kind of own Texas. That was not the case at all.
Yeah, I kind of was thinking the same line as you. TCU was going to bounce back after being humiliated by Ohio State. They let that game slip away from them. Does this kind of show that TCU isn't for real? Where are they in the Big 12 for you as far as
Probably still 3 or 4.
Okay.
Because of the loss to Ohio State, you don't know where they're at. Certainly being 2-2 is not where you want to be 4 months in the season if you're TCU. That sucks by TCU standards. But I think that they'll bounce back and they'll probably still get 9 or 10 wins. I really do. But they still have to play West Virginia. Yep. They still have to play OU. So they still have a couple tough games left. So things could go south very quickly in Fort Worth. But all credit to Texas. I didn't see that.
Yeah.
And for them to struggle, in week 2 with Tulsa, they've kind of found their way in the past 2 weeks. Sam Ehlinger, 22 of 32, 255 yards and 2 touchdowns. If they can get Ehlinger going, Texas has the athletes to be good. But
where does this put Texas for you in the Big 12?
it doesn't change that much for me. Probably still in the middle of the pack. I think they can certainly compete with Oklahoma State after what I saw last weekend. Obviously, they can beat OU. They've got 2 wins with Kansas and Baylor. K-State's always a tough out in the Big 12.
Yep.
As we said, West Virginia, OU. There's just a lot of hurdles you have to jump. That's why it's good to be in OU and West Virginia's position of winning these games early in the season, so you can focus on these games. They're not necessarily must-wins. You can drop one and still make it to Dallas on December 1st. Now it's Iowa State gets their first win. It was over Akron. Beat them 26-13. We're not going to spend too much time on them. Baylor beat Kansas. The winning streak for the Jayhawks is snapped. So, the earth is round, the sky is blue, and Kansas lost on Saturday. Things are back to normal. They got beat 26-7 by Baylor. Baylor picked up their first Big 12 win in 2 years from 2016, ironically, which was over Kansas 2 years ago. So an odd weekend in the Big 12, but let's move on to the top 25 as a whole. Stanford came back to beat Oregon. Came from
that was
way
a crazy game.
back.
Yes.
Did you watch much of that game?
Towards the end, yeah, but I was busy during the overtime, so sadly I couldn't see the overtime. But it was crazy to watch them come back like that. I thought Stanford was out of that game. I thought Oregon had that wrapped up. That was obviously not the case.
Yeah, it was an impressive win, comeback from Stanford. But I am impressed with Oregon. They've had a rough few years.
Yeah.
Changing coaches, Willie Taggart leaving, which seems to be a blessing in disguise for the Ducks. Losing 38-31 in overtime. They had the game there, but they're getting back to their winning ways. As we talked about, West Virginia got the win. Old Dominion upsetted Virginia Tech.
I think wasn't that the biggest upset in how many years, did you tell me?
I can't remember what that stat was. I heard it just like you at some point. I don't remember what it was, but Old Dominion was 0-3 coming in the game.
Yep.
It's not like they lost to a good FCS team. Old Dominion isn't very good, and they won 49-35. That's a big loss for Virginia Tech.
28 points in the fourth quarter by Old Dominion. How do you give that? How do you give up a 28-point fourth quarter?
I don't know. Ask Andy Reid.
Yeah.
I don't know how they gave that up, but that's a bad look for Virginia Tech.
Are we going to talk about the best game of the weekend next? Are we going to talk about it?
There's going to go a couple ways. Okay. And I know which game you're talking about. I was thinking something else. We're going to get to that at the end.
Okay, we'll save that best for last. I like it.
Sometimes I just should shut up, and I haven't figured that out. Alabama, the Tide roll as they beat Texas A&M 45-23. Texas A&M, give them a couple years. They're going to be really good.
I agree.
They were as physical as Alabama, but Alabama did Alabama stuff and just was consistent throughout the game. I want to talk about Scott Frost, though.
Okay.
The Huskers fall to 0-3, their worst start since 1945, as they got dominated by the Wolverines.
Yes.
But I'm not so sure Lincoln High School couldn't beat the Cornhuskers right now, because they are not very good.
Yeah.
You think Scott Frost wishing he was still in Orlando?
Yeah, definitely, because people are calling for his job
already.
Yeah,
those people are clueless.
Yeah.
Listen, the people that are calling for Willie Taggart, which that's what you get for hiring Willie Taggart in the first place. Scott Frost is a good coach. Look at what he did, but he took over a program in disarray. It's hard to recruit kids to Nebraska. They haven't been good in a decade, and it's in Nebraska. It is hard to recruit there, but he will get there eventually. I believe in Scott Frost, but this is not a good start.
No, it was good. It was a good game for my Wolverines, though. I hope the punt return is in this highlight reel real quick. Let's see if it's next now. Anyway, it was a fun game to watch if you're a Michigan fan, not so much if you're a Nebraska fan. So, yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, rough times. Auburn beat Arkansas. Arkansas falls to 1-3. What else do you expect with them right now? Now let's go to
the best game. The best game of the weekend.
All right, are you ready? If Alexis Winston, if you're out there listening, I am sorry that I doubted the Kentucky Wildcats. They won 28-17. They beat a good Mississippi State team. Kentucky looks very good, but they will lose this week to South Carolina.
That's what you said last week.
So I am sorry about what I said on Friday.
You're going to
I
owe her
was wrong.
another
But
apology
you know what?
next week.
I'll apologize next Monday. If you can go into Columbia, South Carolina and win, and if you can, actually they're playing at home. So that'll be, the biggest, home field advantage in the SEC, according to some people, is Kentucky. So we'll see what they're able to do there. But I'm saying the Gamecocks will win this one at 6:30 on Saturday. And when they go to College Station next week, they will lose there as well. So they will fall to 4-2 in the next 2 weeks.
I disagree. I'm on the Kentucky bandwagon, Reed. I know you hate to hear me say that. UCF and Kentucky.
Here's the scary thing. Kentucky's schedule, in all honesty, there's a couple games like Georgia, Texas A&M's iffy. They can easily beat South Carolina. It'll be tough to go into College Station, but they could compete with A&M. Vanderbilt's a win. Mizzou's a win.
Yep.
Georgia's a tough out. Obviously, they're number 2.
Right.
At Tennessee's difficult, but Middle Tennessee State and Louisville looks awful. So they could be a 10-11 win team very easily, but it's not going to happen. They're going to be 4-2 in the next 2 weeks.
No, I think they're gonna get to 10 wins.
It's very
their
possible.
Schedule, like you said, it's not a good schedule. Like there's
a
lot of
for them.
games.
It is a great schedule.
Oh yeah. Strength of schedule, not so much.
2 top 25 wins for the Wildcats already.
Give me a better resume.
Alabama.
Well, Reed, come on.
I mean, well, you asked for one.
I guess I did. You know what? I walked right into that one. Congrats. You got me.
Georgia has a good resume. There's a lot of good resumes out there. I mean, they beat a Florida team at 25 that was okay, and Mississippi State was all right. But other than that, they beat Central Michigan and Murray State. So they're basically 2-0.
Hey, don't disregard Central Michigan.
I will always disregard Central Michigan until the day I die. They got beat by Kansas. Knock on wood, as Oklahoma State plays them this weekend, and they didn't even win here in Stillwater. That was a sham, as we all know it. Don't pull that on me. We've been through this.
We have. I'm just going to say they definitely won. If you look back on the scoreboard, check the records.
No.
They definitely won in Stillwater. I'm sorry.
They didn't, though, because the refs were incompetent and didn't know what they were doing.
That may be true, and I would agree with you, but they were still the refs, and they won, Reed.
You're a believer in the Kentucky Wildcats. You're a believer in UCF being national champions, and you're a believer in those refs from that fateful day in Stillwater. So you know what? I'm not sure that I want to do a show with you anymore.
I'm just a truther. You say you're a truther. I'm the truther that you don't want to hear. I'm the real truther.
I kid. I'll save it for a commercial break.
All
right. We have plenty of NBA stuff to talk about as it's media
Yes.
day in the association. But first, we need to thank some of our sponsors and catch our last break. Thank you to Oklahoma Christian University. Get your master's degree in accounting, business administration, theology, engineering, computer science, or cybersecurity from Oklahoma Christian University. Apply oc.edu/grad for more information. And Unitarian Universalist Church. If you are looking for a church home, visit Unitarian Universalist Church in Stillwater, located at 320 South Stollard Street. They offer an alternative spiritual path and welcome all races, religions, and beliefs. LGBTQ friendly. Services every Sunday at 10:30. So thank you to our sponsors. We'll be right back on One-on-One, OCC Radio, KCY, Sunlink, Channel 112. Welcome back to OSU Student Radio KXU, or 101 on OSU Student Radio KXUY Sunlink Channel 112. As you're seeing the Minnesota Timberwolves right there, the third biggest joke in the state of Minnesota. Oh, it's time to get rid of Jimmy Butler, according to the owner, but not according to Tibbs. When, if, and when will Jimmy Butler be dealt, and where?
He's definitely gone soon. He's not at media day today, so that obviously means something. When, I don't really know. Where, I've tried a lot of different stuff. I've been messing around on the ESPN trade machine.
You want me to read you a list? I'll read you a list of the teams that he wants or will consider, or teams that have called teams in the mix. Let's put it that way. The Brooklyn Nets, the Detroit Pistons, the Houston Rockets, the Los Angeles Clippers, who should be in Seattle, the Miami Heat, the Philadelphia 76ers, who talk too much trash, the Blazers up in Portland, and the Sacramento Kings. Yes, they are still in the NBA. That is the list of teams. Where's he going?
That's so hard to say. Like, I tried to make a trade today in the trade machine where I sent him to Miami, and somehow the trade I made, both teams lost more games. Like, Minnesota won 5 less games, and I think Miami lost 6 more games. So I obviously suck at that. Do not hire me to be your GM ever. But
he should have applied in Philadelphia. They didn't take much into consideration.
I disagree with you on that. But anyway.
How old is Elton Brand?
He's 39.
How many years was he an executive or in the front office of a team?
2, but he lived the NBA life for almost 20 years. So, I mean, there's experience, there's value in that. And
didn't you say the other day that he was just simply a filler guy for a couple of years?
I said he could be just a filler guy.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I don't like to hire, you like to hire, but only time will tell.
That's right. And, you know, I totally expect I could be totally wrong on that. But either way, where does Jimmy Butler land? That's the question. Where do you think? Because, I mean,
Miami,
you probably got a better guess than I do.
Miami, maybe.
I thought Miami would be good.
I think you can take Houston and Philadelphia off right now.
See, I don't think you can take Philadelphia off.
No?
I think Philadelphia is a real contender because, you know, they tried to get Paul George. He obviously didn't take a meeting with them. LeBron James had like a courtesy meeting with them. They're looking for someone that can take them to the next step. And Jimmy Butler is one of those guys that's going to go out and play hard and want to win you games. You may not like him as a teammate, but he's going to be there to win. And they've got some assets. You know, maybe the Wolves aren't totally, you know, out on Markelle Fultz. Maybe they think he's something. They obviously have some good draft history, not a ton, but you never know. You can get Markelle Fultz. You can get some picks. You can get some young guys on that roster that could turn out to be good around Towns and Wiggins. Because, I mean, you're locked into Wiggins, and now you're locked into Towns for 5 more years. But we're going to talk about that in a little bit longer, or a little bit later.
I wouldn't give up Kyle Singler for Jimmy Butler, okay? Now, here's why. He is one of the top players in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
He's very talented. This guy has had problems and has been a locker room issue from Marquette to Chicago to Minnesota. He has had problems with everyone at every stop along the way. Why would you want that in your locker room?
I agree. He demands a lot of his teammates, maybe unfairly at sometimes. You know who he got along with, and you mentioned one of the teams this guy plays for, Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade and Jimmy Butler are good friends. They had a really good friendship on the Bulls. That's why I think Miami's kind of more in the mix than most people think. But if you're Philadelphia, like, you gotta try it.
Yeah, but if you're Miami and you're talking about that friendship with Dwayne Wade, wherever Jimmy Butler wants to go, he wants to sign that max deal, and he wants to stay with that team for a long time. Dwayne Wade's not going to be there past this year.
Right, and the Heat don't even have the cap space to sign him to a max extension right now, which is a segment all on its own about how bad the Heat has done their salary cap. But I think you got to take that into account. You mentioned Detroit. I wouldn't take anything Detroit has. What are they going to do? Trade you Blake Griffin like the Clippers did. You mentioned the Clippers. I don't like their assets. But don't be surprised if a team that's not on that list ends up with Jimmy Butler. Just because he gave you the list of the Nets, the Knicks, and the Clippers, I think were his 3 preferred, throw that out the window. Who cares where he wants to go? I said that about Kyrie Irving when he demanded a trade. You do not have to listen to these guys. The only guys, not even anymore, you had to listen to where LeBron James wanted to go, where Dirk Nowitzki wanted to go if he wanted to be traded, and where Carmelo Anthony, where he wanted to be traded. Those were the only 3 guys in the NBA with a no-trade clause. None of those. No one has a no-trade clause anymore. Everyone's fair game to anyone. Take the best offer.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. But in Minnesota, a guy that's going to be there for at least 5 more years, $190 million extension for Karl Anthony Towns, the Supermax deal. I guess that's good for Minnesota.
Yeah, definitely a positive. I like Karl Anthony Towns. He's my favorite player to watch in the league. People ask me why Karl Anthony Towns.
He's on beef jerky commercials.
Yeah, and he's got an old man game. You can take Karl Anthony Towns' game to the Colvin and drop like 20. Like, that is a game that translates for everyone.
How if you take Karl Anthony Towns to the Colvin?
I'm just saying, if you give me Karl Anthony Towns' skill set and take me to the Colvin.
Oh, well, yeah, he still wouldn't be like 7'4".
Yeah, it helps that he's a 7-footer, but.
All right, so yeah, it is a big deal in Minnesota, but the Timberwolves are still in disarray.
Yeah,
they have a lot of problems.
They've shown that throughout the years. Kevin Garnett's time there. Thankfully, he got out of there and won a championship in Boston. I think Karl Anthony Towns is the greatest Timberwolf. I guess that's weird to say. Yeah,
Timberwolf.
He's the greatest Timberwolf since Kevin Garnett. You're probably gonna have to get him out of there to win a ring. I don't trust the organization there.
If you want to win, get out of the state of Minnesota.
They gave Andrew Wiggins a lot of money. Bad idea, as we've seen. They tried on Jimmy Butler. I don't blame them for trying that, but that obviously didn't work out. They have not shown to be very smart in the front office, even in this trade deal. You know, Tom Thibodeau says he's not for trade. The owner's like, yeah, he is. He's up for trade.
Yeah, so a couple headlines that I'll read you, but there's something else I want to get into. So Anthony Davis signed with LeBron James. Yeah,
congratulations to the Los Angeles Lakers. In a couple of years, you just signed Anthony Davis. You're going to win a couple NBA championships. Congrats on that.
And Kemba Walker wants to resign with the Hornets. That's kind of Kemba Walker is a franchise-changing player for anyone. Now I want to talk about the weirdest thing that I've seen in a long time. And that was Kawhi Leonard laughing.
Oh, my gosh.
It's nice to know that he has the ability to laugh and that he does laugh, but please don't do it on camera anymore. Because that was terrifying.
Do you have an impression? Do you want to do that on live TV?
I don't want to do that on. I don't want to scare the kids out there. What was that?
That was a very nervous laugh, I think. That was the guy that does not want to be there, trying to like make light of it, and it did not sound.
It was very awkward.
It was like an evil laugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Like he's scheming something.
That's what happens when you move to Canada. I don't know. Yeah. He starts putting A at the end of laughs, just make everyone comfortable up there. But that is just a weird situation. He said he's focused on just this year. And not the future.
That's the right answer.
That's
the right media answer.
We've talked times about just say the political thing.
Yeah.
And that was the political answer, and I'm not knocking that, but that is a lie. He's been thinking about the future for a long time.
Yeah, he was thinking about it last year.
Yeah, well, he's playing Fortnite all the time.
I don't see Kawhi Leonard as a Fortnite guy.
That was the report that came out.
I know. I just don't see it. You know what I mean?
He just sits there and laughs while he demolishes Fortnite. That was just a very awkward thing.
Yeah.
So, what kind of year do you think Kawhi has?
A good year.
You think he has a good year?
You know, he sat out. He only played, 7 games or 9 games?
Yes.
He's going to ball out this year so he can prove to people, he has a knock against him for being injury prone. He's going to ball out this year, prove those guys wrong, play as many games as he can. Probably take the Raptors to at least the second round, if not the conference finals against the Celtics is my prediction for next year. But they may lose the Celtics, they may go to the finals, who knows, but he's going to ball out and leave.
Over under games he plays 60.
Over.
Win total 63 and over for Toronto.
Under.
Okay, I agree with that. All right, it's about time to get out of here. We will be back on Wednesday with OSU insider Robert Allen to break down the Texas Tech game and the game against the Jayhawks coming up. But thank you so much for watching One-on-One on OSU Student Radio KXUI, Sunlink Channel 112, and thank you to our sponsors. We'll be back at 2:30 live on Wednesday for Studio 318. We will see you then.
Determining your future by selecting a major can be difficult.
It's okay to be undecided.
Connect with the College of Arts and Sciences, where your options are endless.
Where you can uncover your passions and achieve your goals.
Express your creativity by exploring a career in the visual and performing arts.
Investigate new discoveries to make the world a better place with a career in science.
Advance knowledge, communicate progress, and contribute to a healthier planet with a career rooted in the social sciences.
Discover your career by looking at the world from different perspectives through the humanities.
Realize a better tomorrow through problem solving and mining data that can change lives.
CAS prepares you to succeed through internships, study abroad, student-guided research projects, and service activities.
With 109 majors, 52 minors, and 24 departments, the only thing missing is you. College of Arts and Sciences.
Connect.
Achieve. Succeed.
When you have a team of physicians and nurses that really truly care about their patients, that translates into patient care.
It's a small practice, it's a small town. Everybody really takes that time to put the patient first.
Everybody cares what's happening to me and that I'm making progress and I'm gaining my freedom back and my mobility back. This patient is saying thank you.
This spring, I invite you to shop in downtown Stillwater. Downtown Stillwater is home to locally owned shops, boutiques, eateries, and dependable professionals that you can trust. Find the perfect gift for your graduate, have a delicious meal with mom, or just stop in to enjoy great spring savings. By creating a demand for local goods and services, you can ensure a place for the local businesses that help give our community character and keep it unique. On behalf of downtown Stillwater, thank you for shopping local.